Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai. Thank you so much, dear devotees, for very kindly joining. And as usual, we are starting on time. We are always on time. And today also we are on time, 5:15. So thank you so much for very kindly assembling. Yes, thank you so much for reminding. I'll just pin myself. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, I hope I did that. I'm sorry, I'm not tech savvy, but I'm just crawling my way through. So I hope I did that properly. So once again, dear devotees, thank you so much for joining. So happy to see so many familiar faces, and so happy to see some kids also today. Thank you all very much for very kindly assembling here to hear and chant from the pages of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is the best thing that we can do in the human form of life. And in fact, this is the best and the greatest thing that we can do on a Saturday evening. Hearing from the pages of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And the topic that we attempt to speak today is very, very, very lofty. The audience are definitely qualified, but the speaker is just not qualified. So very kindly, before the class begins, I want to really express my inability to even touch this topic. I am generally, we see in Vaishnava Sanghas, this is such a topic that we do not touch. But because this is an overview of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and I have given my word that we will do an overview, so I will just skim through the surface. But hopefully, my only prayer is that someday, by Krishna's kind desire, hopefully all of you all meet very high-class exalted sadhus from whom you can hear this very deep and esoteric topic. But whatever I have heard from my predecessor acharyas, just like a parrot, I'm going to repeat. Not an iota of realization is there in my heart, not just regarding today's topic, but regarding any of the pastimes of Sri Krishna and Braj, and any of Krishna's pastimes outside of Braj, and any of the Lord's pastime in any of the cantos of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So there is nothing absolutely in the heart. The heart is completely vacuum. But if you all very kindly pray for me, then by your prayers, Krishna may be happy and satisfied, and I may be able to speak or present something today. If I make any mistakes, kindly as Saragrahi Vaishnavas, please forgive me, and please keep whatever mistakes I made, please keep it here itself. Please do not carry it home. Of course, we are already home, but please do not carry it in our consciousness. But if there is anything inspirational that comes up in the discussion, the whole and soul credit goes to Prabhupada, of course, who has commented on this lofty section in the Krishna book, and also to the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. And most importantly, today's discussion, we are going to take most of the points from our predecessor acharyas, because the section that we are discussing, as we know, Srila Prabhupada was not there in this world. Srila Prabhupada had already wound up his earthly pastimes during the Brahma Vimohan Leela, which is Canto 10, Chapter 13 text, Chapter 13, Chapter 14 time. And this that we are attempting to speak is Canto 10, Chapter 29 onwards. So we will primarily be taking shelter of our predecessor acharyas. And in that also the most rasik, the most sweet, juicy acharya, that is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So we would be taking his help to understand an iota of this discussion. Of course, this discussion is so deep, it requires lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes of bhajan to even understand an iota, leave alone discussing and contemplating. So I repeatedly am expressing my inability to touch this topic, but because it's an overview and all the devotees have kindly ordered and instructed me, I will try to speak something from this discussion. Once again, we will try to keep this discussion as lucid as possible, as easy as possible. It is a very technical topic which can definitely go over the head. The speaker is definitely admitting that it is going over his head, but all of you all are definitely superior and more exalted. There will be points that we may not resonate with. That's completely fine. And one more suggestion that I can give, again, it depends on the devotees. Rather than writing today, if we can just hear, let's keep the book to the side and just hear. There is going to be a recording. Let us just hear, because we have evolved after so many lifetimes to get a human form of life. And in that human form of life, we are theists. And being theist, we are devotees. And that also, we are initiated, but not initiated under any Dhongi Baba. We are initiated under a very bona fide sadhu. And that bona fide sadhu has given Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in our lives. And by Prabhupada's mercy, after lifetimes of effort, we are hearing this section called as a Ras Panchadhyaya from Canto 29 onwards. So even if we don't write down, it's completely fine. But let us try to sink in. Let us try to resonate with the mood that the Braja Gopis are going to face today. And because this is a very deep topic, we will make sure that we don't cut a lot of jokes, unlike our previous classes, because the mood is such that the Gopis are going to weep and cry today. So by cutting and cracking jokes, let us not become an impediment to the crying or the tears that the Gopis are going to shed in separation from Shri Krishna. Let us all forget that we are in Seattle. Let us all forget we are in Sammamish. Forget wherever we are. Let us close our eyes and think that we are right now in the land of Braj. We are not in Sammamish, please. We are right now in the land of Vrindavan Dham. And even in Vrindavan Dham, we are right now on the banks of Jamuna. And if you have assembled on the banks of Jamuna, we will see what Shukadev Goswami has to present. But before we start our discussion, let us offer our prayers to our predecessor Acharyas, to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, take their blessings, and then get started in our today's discussion. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajevam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanostute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadhi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaye Tadaliye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Anandalilamaya Vigrahaya Hemavadivya Chavisundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Shri Sachinandan Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Shri Nityananda Rama ki jai. Hare Krishna. We see Srila Prabhupada is so kind upon all of us that we generally see there is a term called as amnesia. And amnesia is nothing but the state of forgetfulness. When people forget everything, that's called as amnesia. And we are also in the state of amnesia. We are in USA. We are in United State of amnesia. We are all united together in the state of amnesia, which means we are all united together in the forgetfulness of Krishna. We are all in amnesia and we are united. So this is USA, United State of amnesia. We're all together united in the state of amnesia. But generally, for those people who have encountered an amnesia patient, generally when they go to the doctor, there's no treatment for it. There's no proper medication that you can give by which amnesia can go away. But what do the doctors do, or what do the psychiatrists do? They tell the family relatives that try to recreate events in this person's life. For example, major incidents, major events that this person has gone through: his graduation, he's getting married, getting his first child, getting his first paycheck, and so on and so forth. Big events. Try to create big events, memorable events in his life, by doing which one of the event will resonate with him and he will start remembering everything. That's how amnesia is treated. There is no medication for it. But events, family members recreate events by seeing which something clicks and they start remembering everything. This is what Prabhupada is doing with all of us. We are right now in the state of amnesia. We have forgotten Krishna. What is Prabhupada doing? Prabhupada is creating events in our life by making us create garlands for Krishna, by asking us to do book distribution, by asking us to do Nam Sankirtan, by asking us to do deity worship, by asking us to prepare prasadam, by asking us to lead Nam Sankirtan, by asking us to hear Hari Katha. Prabhupada is recreating events in our life so that by one event or the other, our lost memory of Shri Krishna comes back. Just like a doctor of this world recreates events so that the amnesia patient remembers all the things that he had done in the past. Similarly, Prabhupada is a transcendental doctor. Prabhupada is the best among all doctors. So similarly, Prabhupada is also recreating events in our life by creating transcendental events, whether garland making, whether making prasadam, whether doing Harinam Sankirtan, or here in this context, Hari Katha. Prabhupada is creating events so that by one event or the other, we resonate with it and we realize that, hey, wait a minute, I was there with Krishna. I was doing all this with Krishna, and now that I have forgotten it. And by performing these events, just like an amnesia patient gets back his memory, similarly, Prabhupada's master plan is by asking us to do all these different limbs of bhakti, 64 limbs of bhakti. By asking us to do different limbs of bhakti, the only hope and desire is one day our lost memory of Shri Krishna comes back. The Shri Krishna with whom we were always there, we have forgotten right now. And we're all united right now in the state of amnesia. But by hearing Hari Katha, this is Prabhupada's master plan of reviving our lost memory. We are all right now, as in India, they say short-term memory loss. That is our state right now. We are all short-term memory loss. We may remember everything around. We may remember the password to our laptop. We may remember the password to our bank account. We may remember all these things. But the most important thing that we have to remember, Shri Krishna, we have forgotten. So this Hari Katha that we have come together to hear from, not from me, not from the speaker, but it is from Shukadev Goswami. Shukadev Goswami is the speaker. Srila Prabhupada is the speaker. Whatever we hear, it is coming from Shukadev Goswami and Prabhupada. So the only aim and agenda is, if we are sincere and if we are attentive, the lost memory of Krishna that we have will again come back. So let us make sure that by the end of our 12 cantos of our Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, may our amnesia go completely away. Right now, we are all in the state of amnesia, but the hope and prayer should be at the end of the 12th canto, when the Takshak bird comes and delivers Parikshit Maharaj. At that time, not just Parikshit Maharaj, we should also get delivered. We should also get back our lost memory of Sri Krishna, that once upon a time, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas. Once upon a time, I was also Krishna's servant. I am still Krishna's servant, but the only difference is I have forgotten it. So with this desire, let us be attentive in our discussion. And also one small request, of course, it's no compulsion, but if we are inspired and if we can turn on the videos, that is just helpful for the speaker. Otherwise, all that the speaker sees is blank screens. But if we are inspired and if we are in a state where we can turn on the video, it is highly encouraged. So we find that in the previous class, we spoke of many pastimes, and one of the primary pastimes was the section of Venu Gita. And in the section of Venu Gita, we spoke about different kinds of flute. Don't worry, this is not a part of the Kahoot. These questions will not be there in Kahoot. But just to recap, we spoke about Venu Gita. And from Venu Gita, we spoke about many other pastimes. But one of the pastimes we spoke in a very different way was the pastime of Govardhan Leela. We spoke about some subtle aspects as to how Govardhan Leela has a strong connection with Radharani. We spoke as to how it is the Govardhan Leela that has given birth to the Chappan Bhog 56 items. And so many other small subtle aspects of the Govardhan Leela were discussed. After the Govardhan Leela was done, our acharyas described, after this pastime was done, the Gopis, they came to Nanda Baba. And they said, Nanda Baba, we have something to tell you. And Nanda Maharaj said, what is it? They said, oh Nanda Maharaj, you are the king of Braj, but we have something to let you know. We unanimously feel that maybe your son is Narayan. If not Narayan, maybe your son is some associate of Narayan. If not some associate of Narayan, maybe he's some demigod. But oh Nanda Maharaj, we beg to differ. He is not one amongst us. He is not a normal child, because no 7-year-old will lift Giriraj on his left hand, that too on the pinky finger. The Gopas went to Nanda Baba and said, this is what we opine. Your son is Bhagavan. If not Bhagavan, he is maybe some associate of Narayan. And if not that, he is some demigod, but he is not normal. When Nanda Baba heard this, Nanda Baba started laughing. He said, let me tell you something. You say he is God? They said, yes, we think he is God because he lifted Giriraj. Nanda Baba said, okay, let me ask you. When was the last time you saw God who was thirsty? God provides for everyone. Bhoktaram sar yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. The Supreme Lord provides for everyone. Is that true? Then Gopa said, yes, that is correct. So if you say Krishna is God, of course, I don't believe it, but just for assumption, if you say Krishna is God, when was the last time you heard in any Shastra that God felt thirsty? When was the last time you heard God being cranky? When was the last time you heard God being hungry? When was the last time you saw God being afraid seeing a lightning? When was the last time you saw God rolling on the ground? When was the last time you saw God? You see, sometimes children, they ask something to their parents when they're very small. And if the parents don't give it, they lie down on the ground and they hit their legs on the ground. You see, we have seen most of the kids do that. Krishna would do that. When Maya Yashoda would not give, Krishna would lie down and Krishna would hit his feet to the ground. Nanda Baba said, you say he's God? Which God does all these things? You tell me. Narayan is so grave when he's there in Vaikuntha. But Krishna, He's stealing, he's lying, he's cheating, he's eating dirt, he's going to houses of different gopis and stealing butter. He's rolling on the ground, he's crying, he's being cranky, he's getting scared, he's getting angry. When sometimes Krishna wouldn't get anything, Krishna would pick pots of butter from his house and he would hurl them at Mother Yashoda in anger. We worship a very different God. This is the Lord of Vrindavan. When he gets angry, he hurls pots. And Mother Yashoda is no less. When she sees Krishna is angry, she becomes more angry. If Krishna goes like this, Mother Yashoda goes even more angrier. Of course, she is the Lord's mother. She has the adhika to control Krishna. Nanda Baba said, you say he is Bhagavan? You tell me which Bhagavan does all these things? The Gopa said, Nanda Baba, that is okay, but we still think he is Bhagavan. So Nanda Baba, when he heard that, he said, if you want to consider him God, you can consider him God, but please don't tell me to consider him God. Because if I consider him God, if you give him the tag of he being God, God means public property. God means belongs to everyone. But if you say Krishna is God, that means he is no longer Yashoda Nandan. He is no longer Nandanandan. He becomes public property. So Yashoda and Nanda Baba would get very angry when the Brajavasis would say he is God. They would say, don't make him public property. He belongs to just us. He is not a property of the Brajavasis. He is Nandanandan. He is Yashoda Nandan. Don't make him a public property. And this conversation went back and forth. And when the Gopas, when they had little doubt, when they got little hint of Krishna's superiority, at that time, Krishna's Leela Shakti, Yogamaya came and covered everything. The Gopas who all this while were thinking that Krishna is God, Krishna thought to himself, bahut ho gaya. It's enough. They are considering me God. If this is how it goes, then I will not be able to experience Sakhya Ras. I will not be able to experience Vatsalya Ras, and leave alone Madhuri Ras. It's high time I break this conception. And Yogamaya Shakti, Krishna's Leela Shakti comes and completely covers the Gopas. And in a fraction of a second, the Gopas forget everything. 5 minutes back, they considered Krishna as Bhagavan. And now, few minutes after, they are considering Krishna as a normal child. The love of the Brajavasis is so much that it eclipses everything. How much ever Krishna does godly activities, they forget everything. At the end of the day, they think, oh, Krishna is one amongst us. He's a normal child. He may be bluish black in color. He may be doing different activities. It's just that maybe Narayan is just merciful upon him. But apart from that, he's one amongst us. He's not someone very great. And that is what the French would also say. Tumi kon bada lok, tumi amisham. Madhumangal and Sridham would keep their arm on the shoulder of Krishna. So much adhikar. They would keep their arm on the shoulder of Krishna and with full authority, they would say, Tumi kon bada lok. What kind of big man are you? You think you're Nanda Baba's son, that's why you're very great. Tumi kon bada lok. Tumi amisham. Krishna, we are equals. Don't think you're very great. In fact, Krishna, we are not even equals. We are better than you. Because when we play hide and seek, we find you very quickly. In a game of wrestling, we punch you down very fast. If you are better than us, then you should punch us. But every time we play wrestling, Krishna, we punch you down, which means Krishna, we are better. And as far as cows are concerned, if you think you're having more cows than Krishna, let us tell you. Let us get the facts clear, Krishna. Let us give you some statistics. Even as far as cows are concerned, we have more cows. And our cows are more white in color. Our cows give more milk. Our milk that the cows give, that is more sweet. So Krishna, we are better in everything, not just in wrestling, not just in fighting, not just in hide and seek, but in cows, the complexion of cows and even the quality of milk is better, Krishna. Tumi kon bada lok, you are not anyone very great. And Krishna would think to himself, Krishna would scratch his head and Krishna would think, how much ever I show my godly abilities, they're still convinced I am a mere child, a mere mortal. So the love of the Vrajavasis is very high class. And we see that epitome of love just increases. It reaches its zenith in Nanda Baba and Yashoda Maya. So when the Gopas after Govardhan Leela told Nanda Baba that Krishna is Bhagavan, Nanda Baba just very casually brushed it to the side and said, oh no, he's just a normal child. After the Govardhan Leela was done, dear devotees, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam mentions a very interesting pastime. Let me just share my screen. We will chant that verse and then we will start our discussion. Yes, so this is from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 22, Text 1. Now, we would definitely have this question that last time we completed till Chapter 28. So why are we going back? The reason we are going back is the section that Shukadeva Goswami describes here has a connection with the Ras Panchadhyaya. So that is why we did not discuss this last time, but we kept it for this time. So this is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 22, Text 1. Shri Shukha Uvacha Hemante Prathame Masi Nanda Vraja Kumarikaha Cherur Havishyam Bhunjanaha Katyayani vratam. We chanted one more time. Shri Shukha Uvacha Hemante Prathame Masi Nanda Vraja Kumarikaha Cherur Havishyam Bhunjanaha Katyayani vratam. Translation by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Srila Shukadeva Goswami said, during the first month of the winter season, the young unmarried girls of Gokul observed the vow of worshipping goddess Katyayani. For the entire month, they ate only unspiced khichdi. Purport. The word Hemante refers to the month of Margashish, from approximately the middle of November to the middle of December, according to the Western calendar. In chapter 22 of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Srila Prabhupada comments that the Gopis first ate havishyana, a kind of food prepared by boiling together moong dal and rice without any spices or turmeric. According to Vedic injunction, this kind of food is recommended to purify the body before one enacts a ritualistic ceremony. Srila Shukadeva Goswami ki jai, Srila Prabhupada's commentary to the Krishna book ki jai. So this is Canto 10, Chapter 22, Text 1. After the Govardhan Leela was done, immediately after Govardhan Leela was done, we see Govardhan Leela comes during the month of Kartik. In the month of Kartik, we celebrate so many festivals, and one festival is Govardhan Leela. After Govardhan Leela was done, and after the whole month of Kartik was done, the Gopis, they went to Katyayani Devi. They went to the banks of Jamuna to worship Katyayani Devi. Why? To get Krishna as their eternal husband. The young unmarried girls, as Srila Prabhupada comments here, they went to the banks of Jamuna to pray to Katyayani. Who is Katyayani? Durga Devi. They went to Katyayani to get Krishna as their eternal husband. Now this happened right after the Kartik month. And that is why this is called as Katyayani Vrat, because the Gopis did Katyayani Vrat to get Krishna as their husband. Now, very interesting. When this pastime was taking place, our Acharya is very beautifully described that there are two types of Braja Gopis. First are those Braja Gopis who are married, and second are those who are unmarried. Please, if it goes over the head, that's completely fine. But in order to understand the Ras Panchadhyaya, we have to shed light on some basic concepts. So that is why I mentioned at the start, even if you don't write, that's completely fine. Let us just hear the discussion. There are two types of Braja Gopis. One are those who are married, and second are those who are unmarried. We find when Sri Ram was there in Dandakaranya, at that time, the sages of Dandakaranya were so enamored by the beauty of Prabhu Sri Ram that they approached Sri Ram and expressed their heart's desire. That, oh Sri Ram, the reason why we are doing all this bhajan is to get you. And now that you are there in front of us, we have this desire of being your consort. Just like you have accepted Maya Sita, similarly, please also give us the same position. And Sri Ram heard this. Sri Ram respected their desire. But as we know, Sri Ram is Eka Patni Vrata. He has accepted only Maya Sita. So Sri Ram gave them a promise that in this age, I cannot accept you all. But in the next age, when I come, I will definitely accept all of you all. Just wait. Just continue your bhajan. In this age, Sri Ram is Maryada Purushottam. He doesn't break principles. And his primary principle is Ekapatni Vrata. So Krishna, in the next incarnation when he came, Sri Ram came in Treta, Sri Krishna came in Dwapar. When the Supreme Lord came as Sri Krishna in Dwapar Yuga, the same sages of Dandakaranya again appeared as the unmarried gopis. Now, dear devotees, we are emphasizing on this concept of unmarried Braja Gopis because in this translation, the unmarried gopis did the Katyayani vrata. That sages of Dandakaranya, they again came back in Krishna Leela as the unmarried gopis. So the first type of gopi who went to Katyayani Devi to get Krishna as their husband was Dandakaranya sages. Second, the Vedic scriptures, that is the Shrutis. We see Shrutis and Smritis. The Shrutis did tapasya. Why? To get entrance into Krishna's Madhurya pastimes. The Shrutis and the Smritis, personification, they're all personification, we see. They did bhajan, they did tapasya to get entrance into Krishna's Madhurya pastimes. And these Shrutis, the Vedic scriptures, came down as Shruti-chari gopis. So earlier, we had the sages of Dandakaranya. Now we have Shruti-chari gopis. Third, the Upanishads. The Upanishads did tapasya. Why? The same desire to enter into Krishna's pastimes. Primarily Madhurya pastimes. We are not today talking about Sakhyaras. We are not talking about Vatsalya, but it's primarily Shuddha Madhurya that we are talking about. The Upanishads, they did bhajan. They did tapasya to enter into Krishna's Madhurya pastimes. And they again came down as Upanishad-chari gopis. First, Dandakaranya sages. Second, Shruti-chari gopis. Third, Upanishad-chari gopis. Fourth, the different princesses that were there in Janakpuri, the place where Maya Sita was there. Those princesses also expressed their desire to enter into the Lord's Madhurya pastimes. But Sri Ram is again Ekapatni Vrata. So just like Sri Ram fulfilled Dandakaranya sage's desire, similarly, he also fulfilled the desire of these princesses of Janakpuri. And they again came down as gopis. And fifth, the daughters of demigods who are there in the upper planetary systems, when they got to know about Krishna's Madhurya pastimes, the desire in the heart increased to enter Krishna's Madhurya Ras pastimes. And they, Deva Kanya, the daughter of demigods, they came down again as different gopis. So 5 types we discussed till now, dear devotees. There are going to be many subclasses and many subcategories. So that is the reason I mentioned. Please bear. Sometimes it can go over the head, but this is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. This is the highest topic of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. That is why we say the 10th canto is very lofty. Of course, we have not even started, but just to reiterate, there are 2 types of gopis, the married and the unmarried. And there are 5 types of the unmarried gopis who are now worshipping Katyayani Devi. First, the sages of Dandakaranya. Second, the Shruti-chari gopis. Third, the Upanishadchari Gopis. Fourth, the different princesses of Janakpuri. And fifth, Devakanya, the daughters of demigods. All of them were worshipping Katyayani Devi. When were they worshipping Katyayani Devi? Hemante prathame masi. The first line says they were worshipping in the month of Hemanta, which means Margashish, which means in our Western calendar, the month of November. So right after Kartik is done, we will find, if we have our calendar, we can, after the class is done, we can see. In our ISKCON calendar also, after Kartik is done, the next day, it will be written Katyayani Vrat. What is that Vrat? It is this Vrat that the Gopis did. Now, the follow-up question in our mind would naturally be, if this Katyayani Vrat is so important, why are we not practicing it in our ISKCON movement? If the Gopis did it, we take Gopis as the highest ideal. If the Gopis did it, why are we not following it? And when I had this question, I reached out to Śrīmad Mukundatta Prabhu. And Śrīmad Mukundatta Prabhu gave such a beautiful answer. He said, the reason why we don't do it is worshipping Katyayani Devi is the mood of the Gopis. But what is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu coming down to give? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming down to give the mood of the Manjaris, the mood of being the maid servant of Radharani. They're two completely different moods. The mood of the Gopi is different, the mood of the Manjaris are different. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming down to give exclusively the mood of the Manjaris. And because we are followers of Rupa Manjari, who is the highest Manjari, that is why we don't follow Katyayani Vrat. Because the Katyayani Vrat is done by the Braja Gopis while we are followers of Rupa Manjari. I hope that makes sense. So that is why in our Gaudiya calendar, we have Katyayani Vrat, but we don't do it. But having said this, it is not wrong. If someone does it, we shouldn't belittle them by saying, hey, we shouldn't do it. That is not the right approach. It's not wrong to do it. Now, just to give an example, our very dear, very revered Shripad Aindra Prabhu. Aindra Prabhu would do Katyayani Vrat. Aindra Prabhu was always different in everything. He was unconventional in everything that he did. Aindra Prabhu would do Katyayani Vrat. So much so that he would do 4 months of Chaturmas and he would become very thin after the 4 months because he would just eat unspiced khichdi, as we saw in the commentary. After 4 months are done, what do? We break our fast. Of course, most devotees, we see primarily the stress is given in the month of Kartik. But Jiva Goswami says ideally all 4 months are very important. But Aindra Prabhu was so exalted, he would not stop in 4 months. After Kartik is done, when everyone relaxes, his Katyayani Vrat will start. So much so that Aindra Prabhu at night would sneak out and go to Yamuna and pray to Katyayani Devi in the mood of the Braja Gopis to get Krishna as his husband. Now, dear devotees, this is a very high class mode. We don't imitate. The reason I'm mentioning this is so that we understand that if someone does it, it's not wrong. But we have to also understand that Aindra Prabhu is in such an exalted category that there is realization in the heart, and that is why he's doing it. So generally in ISKCON we find we don't follow Katyayani Vrats because that is the mood of the Gopis, while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming down to give exclusively Manjari Bhav. So these unmarried girls were doing Katyayani Vrat. And after 1 month of Katyayani Vrat, eating unspiced khichdi, Krishna was very pleased. Srila Rupa Goswami describes Sri Krishna in the spiritual world is about 14 years. Not old, Krishna is young. We are old, we get old. Krishna doesn't get old. Krishna is 14 years young. Srimati Radharani is 13 and a half. Vishaka Sakhi is 13 and a half. Radharani and Vishaka appeared on the same day, same time, and nearby places. Radharani appeared in Barsana, while Vishaka Sakhi appeared in Karela Gav, very close by. So, Sri Krishna is 14, Radhika is 13 and a half, Vishaka is the same day, which means again 13 and a half. Lalita Sakhi is 27 days older to Srimati Radharani. And 27 days in the spiritual world is a big number. It's almost like 25-30 years of this world. It's a big number. So that is why Lalita sometimes chastises. Why? Because she is older to Radharani. And Radharani lovingly accepts Lalita Sakhi's chastisement. So Krishna, who is 14, Radhika, who is 13 and a half, Vishaka, who is again 13 and a half, Lalita, who is 27 days older, and the Manjaris, like Rupa Manjari, Rati Manjari, etc., they are about 12 and a half. Which means when Krishna lifted the Govardhan Leela, when the Govardhan Leela pastime occurred, Krishna was 7. Has been at the age of 7, Krishna lifted Giriraj for 7 days. And right after Giriraj was the pastime of Katyayani vrata, which means when the unmarried girls prayed to Krishna, they were about 6 years old, because Krishna was 7 and they were 1 year younger. So the unmarried girls whom we are talking about were not 40 and 50 and 60 with gray hair and wrinkles and walking stick. They were 6. And dear devotees, I have a question. At the age of 6, will anyone have calm? Will anyone have lust at the age of 6? Impossible. Impossible. So the gopis whom we are talking about, the unmarried girls, they were only 6 and Krishna was 7. So this pastime clearly helps us understand that at that young age, there is no concept of lust. It is natural love that they wanted to express to Shri Krishna. When Krishna saw that for 1 month they were performing this Katyayani vrata, Krishna became very pleased. And Krishna came to them and gave them a promise. Exactly 1 year from now, that is next year, autumn season, I will fulfill all your desires. Whatever your desire is, exactly 1 year later, oh gopis, I will fulfill that. The gopis became very happy. Dear devotees, again to reiterate, we are talking about the unmarried gopis here. The reason I'm trying to mention the same point again and again is it's very easy to go over the head. So if we reiterate again and again, then it just stays in our head. And also because the more we reiterate, it's also good for the speaker. The more we take names of Lalita and Vishaka and Radharani, it's more purifying. So Krishna promised them that exactly 1 year from now, next autumn season, I will fulfill your desire. The gopis became very happy. Exactly 1 year later, dear devotees, Shri Krishna, looking at the full moon, remembered the promise that he gave 1 year back to all these gopis. And on the night of Sharad Purnima, on the night of Sharadiya Ras Purnima, in the month of about October, Krishna decided to play his flute. Krishna went to Vamsivat. The name itself is Vamshivat. Why? We can do the guesswork. Because Vamshi is one of Krishna's flute. So Vamshivat, the place where Krishna plays, is Vamshi. And Vata means banyan tree. Krishna stood underneath the Vamsivat on the night of full moon. And Krishna very charismatically picked up his flute and began to play on his flute. And Srila Rupa Goswami describes that form of Krishna when he's playing the flute is so beautiful. Krishna himself is so beautiful. It's like a cloud personified is walking and talking. Krishna is like a bluish black cloud whose embodiment of a bluish black cloud who's moving and walking and talking. The way Krishna moves his eyes, the way his eyebrows dance, the way Krishna speaks. Sunasikagramouktikam swachandadantapanktikam navambudangachikkanam namami nandanandanam. Sunasikagramouktikam. Krishna wears a nose ring, but Krishna doesn't wear a nose ring here. You see, generally, Matajis, not Prabhujis, but in US you can find everything. In US you can find even male people wearing earrings. You can find male wearing nose rings. I'm not talking about US. I'm talking about the traditional Indian culture where generally the females wear it. Generally, it is seen that the nose ring is worn here, but sometimes we also see that there is a type of nose ring that is worn here. This is what Krishna wears. Sunasikagra Mauktikam. Krishna wears nose ring here. So it is not something that has started now. Krishna did that 5,000 years back also. And look at Rupa Goswami. He's not just saying Krishna wears nose ring. He's giving the type of nose ring also. No ambiguity, absolutely. Our acharyas are crystal clear about Krishna's form. And then when we go out and we hear from people that God does not exist, it is hilarious. It feels like laughing at them. Those who say God do not exist have not come across Srila Rupa Goswami, because Rupa Goswami not just says God exists, he's also giving the details of the form that Krishna is there in Vrindavan. So Sunasika Agramoktika, Krishna has a nose ring, but not here. It is here. And Swachanda Danta Panktikam, Krishna has danta, teeth, but they're very small, chotu teeth. They're like milk teeth. See, when kids are small, they have milk teeth. So Krishna's teeth is like that, small baby milk teeth. So much so that when Krishna would sometimes eat butter, Maya Yashoda would get angry. At the same time, she would be surprised that how is it that my son has learned the art of stealing? हमारे खानदान में तो कोई चोर था नहीं, ये कहां से चोरी करना सीख गया? इतना बड़ा बदमाश कहां से बन गया मेरा लड़का? So she would be surprised sometimes. And she would ask Krishna to open his mouth. Even during Mrid Bhakshan Leela, when Krishna ate dirt, when Krishna opened the mouth, rather than seeing whether there is dirt, Maya Yashoda saw the small teeth of Krishna, because Krishna was 3 at that time. And rather than seeing the dirt particles, she started counting the number of teeth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, small teeth. She completely forgot the reason why she had asked Krishna to open his mouth. Swachanda Danta Panktikam. Krishna's teeth are very beautiful. They are not yellowish. Krishna doesn't need a whitening. Krishna's teeth are like really white without any dentist. Krishna does not require any root canal or anything like that. Krishna's teeth are transcendental. Navam Budanga Chikanam Namami Nandanandanam. And how is his form? Navam Budanga Chikanam. Oh, Krishna's form is like freshly formed monsoon cloud. Especially those from Seattle need no explanation. Every time we see outside, we can see a freshly formed monsoon cloud. Whichever time of the year it is, January, February, March, April, we can always see clouds outside. I always make this point that everyone can understand Govardhan Lila, no doubt. But the Seattle devotees can understand Govardhan Lila like no one else, because it keeps raining throughout the year. For everyone else, it is Gyan. For Seattle Vasis, it is Vigyan. We see rain every single day. So we know how much trouble it can cause. So Govardhan Lila is our property. There is no one who knows Govardhan Lila better than Seattle Vasis. So Krishna is like the freshly formed monsoon cloud. And how is Krishna standing? Tribhanga Deha Sundaram Nakhadyute Sudakaram Amulya Ratna Bhushanam Namami Nandanandanam. Tribhanga Deha Sundaram. Ah, Krishna's Tribhanga, three-bent form. One Prabhupada disciple was saying, Krishna is very crooked. His name is crooked. His form is crooked. He looks crooked. He speaks crooked. Everything is crooked. Nothing that Krishna does is straightforward. Eating also is by stealing, which is again crooked. So he was giving such a beautiful example. Imagine there's a plastic bottle and you have a crooked object. Will the crooked object go inside the plastic bottle? Very difficult. If you have a crooked object this way and you have to put that into a plastic bottle, will it go inside? Very difficult. But if it goes inside, will it come out? Impossible. It will not come out. It's very difficult to go inside. But if it goes inside, it will never come out. This is our predicament. Our heart is as insignificant like a plastic bottle. Who cares for a plastic bottle? That is our case. Our heart is as insignificant as a plastic bottle. But Krishna, Tribhanga Deha Sundaram. Oh, he's three-bent. We are doing bhakti for lifetimes together. Is Krishna coming in our heart? Is he giving any realization? At least speaking for myself. I'm not sure of other devotees, but at least speaking for myself, nothing. Very difficult to get Krishna in the heart. But if he comes in the heart, even if you want to take him out, he will not go out. That is Krishna. It's very difficult to get him inside, but once you get him inside, even if you want, he will not go out. So that is Krishna. Tribhanga Deha Sundaram, Nakha Dyuti Sudakaram. Krishna's toenails, Rupa Goswami describes, they are so beautiful. When Krishna is dancing in Vrindavan, or even when Krishna is walking, the moon god becomes ashamed. He closes his face. He tells Krishna, Krishna, your toenail, the tip of your toenail is more effulgent than all my moon rays put together. And Krishna doesn't wear socks. We wear socks. Krishna doesn't wear socks because Krishna has to flaunt his toenail. Krishna doesn't wear socks. So the moon god becomes so embarrassed. He tells Krishna, your nails are so effulgent. It puts the moon rays, it puts moon god to embarrassment. So Krishna is very beautiful in this most mesmerizing, beautiful form at Vamshivat. Very charismatically, Krishna was playing the flute. And our Acharya is very beautiful. He said that Krishna's eyebrows are like fishes. Just like fishes, you see, sometimes fishes or dolphins, you see, they jump in water. If you see them from a distance, sometimes they just make a big jump. They say Krishna's eyebrows are like that. Krishna keeps moving them like dolphins, up, down, up, down. Like dolphins, they keep going up and down. Krishna is a full-on performer. He's full dramatic. Especially Vrindavan Krishna. This ras we don't find outside of Vrindavan. Outside of Vrindavan, Krishna is very grave. In Vrindavan, Krishna is relaxed. It's like, for example, we may have a CEO of a company. We can take our own example. We may be developers in a company, or we may be program managers, or we may be testers, or we may be scrum master, or we may be anything for that matter. In the office, we are very serious. We don't crack jokes. We are very serious. But that same personality, when he's there inside the four walls of the house, is he the same person or is he relaxed? He is more relaxed. The same father who is strict in the office, who's very stern, inside the house, he may be wearing a banyan, he may be relaxing his legs, he may be reading a newspaper, which he will not do in the office. There are two forms of the same person. Similarly, Krishna, in Dwaraka, it's like the office form. Krishna is very grave. In Vrindavan, it's the home form. Krishna is like in a banyan. Krishna is reading newspaper. Relaxed completely. That is Krishna's house. Krishna doesn't care for anything in Vrindavan. So we want that Krishna who is there in his house, who is there in his most relaxed form. So that Krishna, on the night of Sharat Purnima, played the flute. And when Krishna played the flute, the sound of the flute did not reach the friends. The sound of the flute did not reach Nanda Baba. The sound of the flute, dear devotees, did not even reach Yashoda Maya. The sound of the flute reached only the Braja Gopis, not anyone else. For example, when we have to call someone, if I have to call from here, I have to call Nityananda Vilas Prabhu. It will go only to Nityananda Vilas Prabhu. No one else can hear that conversation. No one else can even hear the ringtone. Only Nityananda Vilas Prabhu can hear it. Similarly, Krishna doesn't use AT&T and Verizon and T-Mobile. All this is there in this world. Krishna in the spiritual world uses his flute. And through his flute, specifically, Krishna on the night of Sharat Purnima called out to the Braja Gopis. And now, dear devotees, when Krishna called out to the Braja Gopis ran. They left everything and they just ran. Completely oblivious to every single thing. The moment they heard Krishna's flute, just like iron filings are attracted to magnet, the gopis were magnetized by Krishna's flute and they left everything and just ran towards Krishna. But there is an if now. Not all gopis could go to the rasa dance. Even though they were Braja Gopis, there was a big if. What was that if? Those gopis, irrespective of whether they were married or unmarried, those gopis who associated with Nitya Siddha gopis, like Lalita and Vishaka, etc., Those gopis who associated with Nitya Siddha gopis, only those gopis got the adhikar to enter the rasa dance. On the flip side, there were gopis who heard the flute but did not have association of Nitya Siddha gopis, because of which they could not enter the rasa dance. Externally, it seemed that the husband stopped. Externally, it seemed that the in-laws stopped. But actually, it was Yogamaya who was putting a check on them. It was Yogamaya Shakti who was not allowing them to enter the rasa dance. Why? Because they did not get the association of Nitya Siddha gopis like Lalita, Vishakha, Indulekha, Rangadevi, Sudevi, Chitra, Champaklata, etc. They did not get the association of very high-class Nitya Siddha gopis. So even there we see, dear devotees, association plays such a big role. We are not talking about some normal devotee. We are not talking about a devious devotee. We are talking about the Braja Gopis. Even for Braja Gopis, the level is so much high. Those who got association could enter. And those who did not get association, there was a check on them. They could not enter. They heard Krishna's flute, but they were crying and weeping. But Yogamaya put a check on them. Why, dear devotees? And the answer is, our acharyas describe, these gopis who were not allowed to enter, even though they heard the flute, the reason they were not allowed to enter the rasa dance is because they had not fully developed Parakya Bhav. They had not fully developed this mode of Parakya Bhav. Now, what is Parakya Bhav? This section is such that it's like a nested loop for all the coders. Goes inside one after another, after another, after another. We started with Katyayani vrata. From there, we went to unmarried gopis. From there, different subcategories. And we are going inside and inside and inside. Until the time we don't touch on these concepts, till that time we do not do complete justice to this section of Rasa Panchadhyaya. So it is complete. I again reiterate, it is completely okay if it is going over the head. If you are able to follow, that's wonderful. But if it's going over the head, that's completely fine. There's no harm in it. So these gopis had not developed completely the Parakya Bhav. Now, what is Parakya Bhav? There are two modes in connection with Krishna. One is Swakiya and second is Parakya. Swakiya mode is when you're married to Krishna. What is the example? Rukmini, Satyabhama. Examples in Dwaraka. Different queens. All those queens, 16,000 queens, are all Swakiya. They are married to Krishna. But in Braj, Swakiya doesn't work. In Braj, only one mode works, that is Parakya Ras. If you remember, in one of the earlier discussions, we have mentioned as to how Gargacharya came and broke all the marriages in order to make sure that Parakya Ras has to be prevalent in the land of Vrindavan. So outside of Braj, we have Swakiya, where they are married to Krishna. In Braj, there is Parakya. What is Parakya Bhav? Parakya Bhav is that Bhav where you are married to someone else, but you see Krishna as your paramour. This is the highest mode of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam that Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam explains. Of course, not getting into details. As I mentioned, the speaker is absolutely not qualified, but just as the flow is going, we are discussing. The Parakya mode that is there in Braj is where you're married to someone else, but you see Krishna as your paramour. Lakshmi ji, who is the Lord's consort in Vaikunta, she heard from Narad Muni about Krishna and Vrindavan. We see Narad Muni is the transcendental spaceman. It's not Neil Armstrong who went. It is our Narad Muni. Narad Muni goes from one planet to another planet on a daily basis. And mind you, without any rocket and without any publicity. Nowadays, we find if there is a rocket that is going, there is publicity, there is CNN, there is Fox News, there is this, that. And after going there, what do they find? Nothing. All they conclude is there is no life there. But Narad Muni, he doesn't require a rocket. He doesn't require Fox News. He doesn't require any publicity. Nothing. All he requires is one veena. And what does he do? Narad Muni bajaye veena. Radhe ka Ramana naame, O Narad Muni bajaye veena, Radhe ka Ramana naame. Srila Narad Muni goes from one planet to another planet, from one universe to another universe, with his veena, chanting the names of Radhika, Raman, Shri Krishna, which means chanting the name of Vrindavan Krishna, dear devotees, not Dwaraka Krishna. Narad Muni doesn't glorify Dwaraka Krishna. He doesn't glorify Mathura Krishna. He doesn't glorify Avanti Krishna. He glorifies Vrindavan Krishna. So when Lakshmi Devi heard about Krishna and Vrindavan, she was enamored by Krishna's beauty. She thought to herself that here in Vaikuntha, there is only one ras, that is Dasya ras, massaging my husband's lotus feet. There is no other ras. But in Vrindavan, Krishna is there in the mood of a friend. Krishna is there in the mood of a son. Krishna is there in the mood of a lover. Lakshmi Devi was enamored. And now she had a desire to join Madhurya Ras, to enter the rasa dance. So she left Vaikuntha and she came down and she came to a place called as Belvan, one of the forests of Vrindavan, one of the sub-forest. She came to Belvan. And when she got to know that in order to enter the rasa dance, she has to first be in simple attire, because Lakshmi is opulence personified. The dollars that we are wanting, that dollars in one form is Lakshmi Devi. All our Bank of America, all our Chase Bank multiplied 1 billion times and much more is Lakshmi Devi. And now that Lakshmi Devi, whose opulence personified, was asked to be in simple attire, because Braja Gopis are very simple. And Lakshmi Devi said, yes, I can do that. I can be in a simple attire. They said, second condition, Braja Gopis means cow dung. They take cow dung, they make cow dung patties. This is typical Braj life, Vrindavan life. Will you do that? Lakshmi Devi said, yes, I will do this also. Third and the final condition, you have to get married to someone else and have Krishna as your paramour. When Lakshmi Devi heard this, she said, what? I have to get married to someone else and have Krishna as my paramour? No, this is not possible. At least in Vaikuntha, Vishnu is there as my husband. But you're saying that I come all the way down, get married to someone else, and then have Krishna as my paramour. I cannot. And they said, exactly. This is the qualification to enter rasa dance. You, of the 3 conditions, you ticked on 2 check boxes. The third one you did not tick. Please forgive us. No entry into the rasa dance. Till this day, dear devotees, Lakshmi Devi is still doing tapasya in Belwan, and she has not got entrance. So that is the level. That is how lofty this pastime is. Lakshmi herself is not getting entrance. So how much bhajan we have to do to get entrance into these pastimes, Krishna's Vrindavan pastimes? It doesn't come easy. It just doesn't come easy. We have to do a lot of bhajan. One Prabhupada disciple was saying that in order to get entrance into Krishna's Braja pastimes, doesn't matter Sakhya ras, Vatsalya ras or Madhurya ras. One Prabhupada disciple was saying, our level of bhajan should be like Rupa and Raghunath. We should do bhajan like Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami, day in and day out, thinking and crying and weeping about Krishna. Then we can have some hope of getting Krishna in this lifetime. Otherwise, Bahu Janma Kori Yadi Shravana Kirtan, Tabutana Pai Shri Krishna Pada Premadhan. We may chant and hear for millions and billions and zillions and quadrillions of lifetimes. It doesn't matter. We may still not get Krishna, because Krishna is not behind the number of rounds that we are chanting. We may chant 64, but if you are proud and puffed up about chanting 64, Krishna doesn't even look at that devotee. On the flip side, there might be someone who is chanting just 16, minimum 16. But if his heart is simple and straightforward like the flute, Krishna may be very pleased with him and Krishna may give realizations in his heart. What is important is our heart. As Srila Radharani Maharaj time and again says, Krishna smells the fragrance of our heart. If the heart is fragrant, without pride, Krishna embraces us. But on the flip side, we may be doing all the big services. We may be chanting many number of rounds, and we may always be in the limelight. If the heart is puffed up and proud, Bahu Janma Kori Yodi Shravana Kirtan, Tabutana Pai Shri Krishna Pada Premadan. We may never get Krishna's lotus feet. So Lakshmi Devi also is not getting entrance. She's still doing tapasya in Belwan. So now, only some gopis could go to Vamsivat. Those who were qualified and matured, and those who had parakya rasa in their heart. And when they reached Vamshivat, they were so enamored by Krishna's flute, dear devotees, they forgot everything. They did not even care whether their husbands will accept them. We are talking about 5,000 years in the past. Even now, if a lady leaves the home in the middle of the night, what are the chances that the husband will accept her? Very less, very less. And now we are talking 5,000 years in the past. The gopis did not even tell the husband. They just ran, not even knowing whether the husbands will accept them. They did not even care for their husbands. Please do not take inspiration. We are talking about the Braja Gopis. Please do not take inspiration. This is what the Braja Gopis did. Please do not say Arjuna Sakhā Prabhu said we should not care for our husbands or wife. That is not what I am saying. I am saying the gopis were so exalted that they did not care for anything. Let us not take just one point from the class and generalize it. We can keep our grahastha as it is. We can hope to follow the footsteps of gopis, but this is what the pastime is all about. So the gopis ran, hearing the flute of Krishna. They left everything. For some gopis, they had just put mascara on one eye. For some other gopis, the bottom cloth was up, the upper cloth was down. They didn't just care. They just ran towards Krishna, not knowing whether they will be accepted in their house. Dear devotees, I just want to pause here. And I want to put forth a question. When I was preparing these notes, I was just thinking to myself, especially in connection with what happened yesterday, what we saw in one of our groups. I was thinking to myself, we can close our eyes and we can pause and think. If tonight Krishna plays his flute and Krishna calls us, are we in the state to leave everything and run towards Krishna? Will we leave our family behind? Will we leave our material attachments behind? Will we leave our dollars behind? Will we leave our children behind? Will we leave the desire of seeing the face of our grandchildren behind? Can we leave all of this behind and just run and be with Krishna, leaving everything to the side? If Krishna, in 2 hours time, if Krishna is playing the flute and Krishna gives an open invitation, how many of us will leave every single thing of this world and run towards Krishna? At least speaking for myself, I won't. I am being very honest, dear devotees. I may not, because the attachments are so strong. What will happen to parents? What will happen to my brother? What will happen to this? What will happen to that? We can do a self-introspection. If, of course, there's no need to vocalize it. It can be just with us. If on this night, it is 6:22, if at 7 o'clock Krishna plays the flute and Krishna gives a personal invitation, can we be ready to drop down every single thing and run towards Krishna? If the answer is yes, great. We have made a lot of advancement. But if our answer is no, then there is a lot of advancement still to be done. That should in fact humble us, because the ideal level is that of the Braja Gopis who left everything and just ran towards Krishna. And now comes very interesting part, dear devotees. The reason I paused here is I was thinking in connection with the devotee whom we lost a few days back. He was very young. From what I hear, of course, I have not had the good fortune of meeting him personally, but I believe many devotees who have been here in Seattle for many time, for a lot of years, would have known him and would have interacted with him. Someone who was there in his early 30s or probably late 20s. Look at the determination, dear devotees, leaving a full-time job, entering the Brahmachari ashram, and dear devotees, not entering Brahmachari ashram after getting to know that his health was down. Even before that, when his health was hale and hearty, he decided to enter ashram. And then when he knew that Krishna had slammed the doors upon him from all sides, he goes and takes shelter of Mayapur Dham. If the same, I was thinking to myself, if the same situation is there upon me, will I have the courage to leave my job? Will I have the courage to leave everything behind and run to Braj or Mayapur and to leave our body? Perhaps not. It's easier said than done. We may say Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Mayapur Dham ki jai, but here are such exalted devotees who are teaching the example that age has nothing to do. It is our bhakti that we are carrying from lifetimes together. We may be 5 years like Prahlad, or we may be 80, 85 years like Kaviraj Goswami. If there is bhakti in the heart, Krishna accepts us. So this is a point of introspection, dear devotees. When Krishna played the flute, the gopis left everything and ran. Are we right now in that position where we will run for Shri Krishna? If Neela Madhav today plays the flute, are we in a position to run everything and run to Neela Madhav? The Neela Madhav whom we are worshipping for so many years, if he calls, gives a personal invitation, will we leave everything? Or will we tell him that Krishna, you come after a few days, tab tak sam kaam nipta leta hu, I will just finish everything. I will close all my FD. I will remove all the money from my bank account. I will give everything, all the money to my children. I will make sure that they are enrolled in all the right schools and colleges. Then Krishna will come with you. Invariably, this will be the answer. We will make even Krishna wait. We will make even Krishna wait. But the gopis, the Vrajavadus are the highest. They just ran towards Krishna. They just ran towards Krishna, not knowing whether they will be accepted ever again. And now, when they come to Vamsivat, they look at Krishna. They are mesmerized by the beauty of Krishna. We always say Gopi, Gopi. What does Gopi mean, dear devotees? Go stands for senses. And P means pibati, to drink. The gopis are those who with their eyes drink the nectarian beauty of Shri Krishna. Those who can drink the nectarian beauty of Shri Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes are Gopi. Go means senses and P means pibati, to drink. So these gopis were actually with their eyes drinking the nectar of Shri Krishna's form at Vamsivat. And now, dear devotees, Krishna sends a thunderbolt down their heart. When the gopis reach there, Krishna looks at them, and now Krishna says, oh, why did you come? I played the flute, but why did you come? You left your husband? You left your children? Oh, you left your in-laws? What will your in-laws say? You left your husband? You left all of them? Ah, this is not correct. You're not following Grahastha Dharma. You're leaving everything and coming behind. He is playing the flute, and when the gopis are coming, now he's giving a Bhagavatam class to them. He is giving philosophy to them. And the gopis, when they hear this, look at each other and say, is he serious? Or is he just joking? He's pulling our leg, right? And the gopis say, yeah, I think he's pulling our leg. But no, Krishna was serious. Krishna said, go back. This is not correct. This is not Grahastha Dharma. Leaving your husband in the middle of the night, this is not right. Go back. And Krishna began to give a philosophy. He began to give a Bhagavad Gita class, enriched and loaded with philosophy. And the gopis came there looking at Krishna. Krishna, we are not here to hear a Bhagavatam philosophical class. In the middle of the night, this is not why we have left our house. But Krishna was speaking philosophy. At that time, when Krishna was asking the gopis to go back, the gopis stepped forward. Our Lalita Sakhi, Vishaka Sakhi, they may hear Krishna, whatever Krishna says, but Lalita Sakhi is so strong, she will reprimand Krishna. Our gopis came ahead and they said, Krishna, you are speaking philosophy, and anyone who speaks philosophy, anyone who gives Tattva Siddhanta, which means that person is Guru, you are giving instructions, which means you are our Guru. And Krishna, you would be very well aware that it is higher to serve Guru than to serve one's husband. You are giving instructions, which means you are our Guru. So first, let us serve our Guru Maharaj, then we will go and serve our husband. Krishna, is that all right? Krishna was stunned. This is Braja Gopis. Krishna will speak something, but the gopis come up with a better answer. Why? Because the gopis are led by Śrīmati Radharani, who is better than Krishna in every single thing. Our Śrīmati Radharani is better than Krishna in every single thing, without any doubt. In beauty, she's a million times more beautiful than Krishna. In flute playing, she's 10 million times better than Krishna. In dancing, she's a billion times better than Krishna. our Krishna loses to Radharani in every single thing. भगवान हार जाते हैं श्री कृष्ण के सामने, भगवान राधारानी के सामने सब हार जाते हैं. So now the gopis say, you're giving philosophy class, right? Which means you're giving shastra, which means you are our guru. And Krishna, you would be very well aware that serving one's Guru Maharaj is greater than serving one's husband. We have accepted you as our Guru Maharaj. Let us serve you very well. That is our Guru Maharaj. And then we will serve our husband. Indirect speech. Sarcasm. There is sarcasm in Bhagavatam also. Transcendental sarcasm. And Krishna likes this, dear devotees. Krishna says, Parokshavadam mama priyam. Krishna says, if someone speaks straight, okay. Parokshavadam, indirect speech, mama priyam. Krishna says, indirect speech I love even more. If someone speaks straight, it's okay. Indirect speaking, crooked speaking, Krishna loves that. We worship a very unique God, dear devotees. We always say this. Our God is very unique. Very unique personality we worship. Parokshavadam mama priyam. So when Krishna was about to answer this question, now Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur puts it googly. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives such a beautiful commentary now. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says the gopis came ahead again and they said, Krishna, in English, there is a saying called as practice before you preach. Is that right? Krishna said, yes. So Krishna, our question to you is, you are saying that we should go and serve our husband. Which husband did you serve when you became a lady? Krishna, you became Mohini avatar, right? You became Mohini Murti. Which husband did you serve? You also became a lady, right? Which husband did you serve that time? You are asking us to go and serve our husband. You tell us first, which husband did you serve? Practice before you preach. You are not even practicing your preaching to us. Krishna has no answer, and that is true. Krishna became Mohini avatar, but which husband did he serve? Gopis very easily, they bowl out Krishna. Krishna is stunned. Krishna has no answers. And now, finally, the rasa dance begins. Now the rasa dance commences, where Srimati Radharani is there in the center. Dear devotees, it is 6:30. We may probably go a little over time, but I think that's completely fine. If we go over time, we will skip the test. More than the test, I think discussing this section is more important. The moment I said skip the test, I can already see smile in the faces of the devotees. But that is if we go over time. So we find here, the rasa dance began. And Srimati Radharani was there in the center. And Krishna was there with Srimati Radharani. And all the gopis, millions of gopis, 60 million gopis had assembled, dear devotees. We are not talking about 4 or 5 gopis, 60 million gopis. This was the Maharaj that took place. This was the Maharaj that took place. 60 million gopis were present. And they were all in circle. Radharani in center with Krishna and all the gopis around. And the dance began. And when the dance commenced, every gopi thought to herself, other gopis are just dancing, but Krishna is just dancing with me. While another gopi thought, other gopis are simply dancing. In reality, Krishna is only dancing with me. Another gopi thought, they are simply dancing. Krishna is only dancing with me. Every gopi thought to herself, Krishna is only dancing with me. Only Srimati Radharani could see that Krishna is dancing with everyone. But the other gopis could not see that. Every gopi thought Krishna is only with me. So much so that for one gopi, Krishna was wiping the sweat from the forehead. For another gopi, Krishna was adjusting the ankle bells. For another gopi, Krishna was enacting the same dance posture that they were doing. Ye yathamam prapadyante, right? Whatever the gopis wanted, Krishna was doing it the same way. We can relate even Bhagavad Gita to Vrindavan. Every verse of Bhagavad Gita, 700 verses of Gita can be mapped to Vrindavan's pastimes. There is no doubt about it. So Krishna was reciprocating to all these Braja gopis. And Radharani was also dancing in the middle, in the center. Now Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Now there are two opinions. Different acharyas give different interpretations. The first acharya, he comments by saying that Krishna expanded himself and danced with all the gopis, which means Krishna was there with Radharani. At the same time, he expanded and danced with all other gopis. This is one understanding. And this is the understanding that we have always heard. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur doesn't agree to this understanding. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has his own commentary. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says that this is not true. Why? Because if Krishna is expanding, it only means Krishna is showing his opulence. And Vrindavan means Krishna doesn't show his opulence. Krishna doesn't perform Aishwarya pastimes. This is the highest level of Madhurya pastime. So in a Madhurya pastime, how can Krishna show opulence? How can Krishna show Aishwarya rasa? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says, no. Krishna did not expand, because had he expanded, this is Aishwarya conception. Krishna did not expand. Now the question arises, Acha, if Krishna did not expand, then how is it that he was dancing with all the millions of gopis? Our Acharya Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he comments by saying, Krishna in the speed of lightning was dancing with one gopi from another gopi to another gopi, from another gopi to another gopi to another gopi. From one gopi to another gopi, in the speed of lightning, Krishna was dancing. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Krishna did not expand, which means he did not show his Aishwarya, but in the speed of lightning, he was dancing with everyone. So he made sure that all the gopis are happy. At the same time, he made sure that there is no Aishwarya rasa in a Madhurya pastime. Krishna was dancing with all of them. At this point, dear devotees, when the gopis thought that Krishna is only dancing with me, Krishna is not dancing with anyone else, Krishna is only dancing with me. Every gopi thought this own feeling that Krishna is only dancing with me. This is called as Saubhagya Mad. The gopis started considering their good fortune. They were thinking to themselves, how fortunate we are. There are so many gopis, but Krishna has picked me for dancing. Ah, how fortunate. I am so fortunate. So many gopis are there. Krishna is only picking me. Thinking about one's own good fortune. This is called a Saubhagya Mad. Every gopi was thinking this way. And when Radharani got to know that the gopis are thinking this way, they're thinking about their own good fortune, Radharani got angry. Why? Because Radharani's level is so high class. Radharani was thinking to herself, if even for a fraction of a second, they think about their good fortune. But in that time, if Krishna is wanting some service from that gopi, if Krishna is asking that, oh gopi, can you give me this? But at that spur of the moment, if that gopi is thinking about their own fortune, it only means that the gopi will not be able to serve Krishna. And this, according to Radharani, is not the highest mood. Even if it is fraction of a second, dear devotees, Radharani cannot take it. She is thinking to herself, if at that spur of the moment, Krishna comes up to that gopi and says that I want something. But if that gopi is thinking about her good fortune, what will happen to Krishna? Krishna will not get what he wants, which means that is not service, which means that is not seva. I don't want to be in a place. I don't want to be in a place where everyone is thinking about themselves and are not thinking about Krishna. Dear devotees, we are talking about a fraction of a second. But Radharani's love is so much that she cannot take even an iota of self-interest. If someone, even for a fraction of a second, is thinking about themselves, according to Radharani, that is not service. So now we can imagine what is the standard that Radhika is expecting from all of us. In 24 hours, how much time are we thinking about Krishna? And how much time are we thinking about ourselves? In the spiritual world, they're always thinking about Krishna, but one fraction of a second when they thought about themselves, Radharani left the rasa dance. Radharani stormed out of the rasa dance. I don't want to be in a place where thinking about themselves. They are not ready to serve Krishna, because if Krishna comes up with some request, they cannot serve. They're thinking about themselves. Saubhagya Mad, Radhika leaves. When Radha leaves, how can Raman be there? It is Radha Raman. When Radha leaves, how can Ramana be there? Krishna also leaves. When Radhika leaves, Krishna leaves. And when Krishna leaves, the rasa dance comes to a halt. Because as we discussed, it was the same Krishna who was dancing. So when the Krishnas left, the rasa dance came to a halt. All of a sudden, the gopis who were thinking about their own good fortune, when they opened their eyes, no Krishna, gone. Krishna is gone. There's no Krishna in front of them. Krishna left the rasa dance to go and find for Srimati Radharani. The other Braja gopis, when they saw that Krishna is not present, they started searching as to where Krishna is gone. The Braja gopis, they went and asked the birds, did you see Krishna? No reply. They go to the animals, did you see Krishna? No reply. They go to the trees, did you see Krishna? No reply. And they become angry at the trees and say, why will you reply? You are a male, right? You will support another male chauvinist. You will support another male. Why will you reply? Why will you take my side? The trees also did not reply. The gopis went to Tulasi, Brinda Devi, and said, oh Brinda, oh Tulasi, did you see Krishna? No reply. And they said, you will also not reply. You are Krishna Jivani, right? You are on the side of Krishna. Why will you take our side? You are Krishna Jivani. You will not take our side. Tulasi also kept quiet. She did not speak anything. The gopis were searching. Where did Krishna go? What is our mistake? What is our fault? Krishna, please come back. We are ready to rectify our mistake. Please tell us what is our mistake. We will come back, Krishna. But Krishna is not to be seen. And Krishna this time has gone in search of Srimati Radharani. Shri Krishna meets Srimati Radharani, and Krishna does the Shringar of Srimati Radharani. He sees Srimati Radharani and does the Shringar of Srimati Radharani. And primarily Krishna, he makes the hair of Srimati Radharani. And when Krishna is doing the Shringar, Radharani with a mirror, she sees whether Krishna is doing it right. And she gives instructions to Krishna. Krishna, do it this way. Krishna, do it that way. Radhika is a perfectionist. And likewise, Krishna is also a perfectionist. She gives instructions. Krishna, do it this way. And we would have seen that photo where Radharani on the night of Sharad Purnima is holding a mirror and Krishna is doing Shringar. This, dear devotees, is the famous place called as Shringar Vat. Vat means again a banyan tree. And Shringar is the place where Krishna did Shringar. How can Krishna be in a place where Radharani is not there? Impossible. The only place where Krishna exists without Radharani is Dwaraka. And that is not Vrindavan Krishna. And that is not the Krishna whom we worship. And that is why Prabhupada never in any temple kept the worship of just Krishna. No temple we will find Krishna is worshipped alone without Radharani. Impossible. If Radharani is not there, Krishna will storm out of the temple also. Just like he stormed out of the rasa dance, Krishna will storm out there also. Krishna was doing the Shringar. And now the Braja Gopis, when they did not get any answer, they thought that probably Krishna has left us. Krishna, without giving an answer, Krishna has left us. And they were preparing to again go back. But when they were preparing to go back, they saw something very interesting. They saw footprints, because Vrindavan is the land of sand. It is Raman Reti. Reti means sand. It's filled with sand. We find in Giriraj also, it's filled with sand. They saw footprints and they looked at the footprints, and the footprints had 8 marks on the left side and 11 marks on the right side. Whose lotus feet is it? Shri Krishna's lotus feet. There is a reason why we discussed the lotus feet in our previous discussions, because it has a strong connection with the rasa dance. They looked and they said, oh, this is Shama Sundara's lotus feet. This is our Brajendra Nandan Shri Krishna's lotus feet. And they looked at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. And they decided to follow that lotus feet imprints so that they can get their Krishna. Dear devotees, this rasa dance consisted of 4 types of gopis. First is Swapaksha, those gopis who are in Radharani's camp. The second is Vipaksha, those who are in Chandravali's camp. Third is Surid Paksha, those who are friendly to Radharani. And fourth is Tatastha, those who are neutral to Radharani and Chandravali. 4 types of gopis. Swapaksha, those in Radhika's camp. Vipaksha, those in Chandravali's camp. Third, Surid Paksha, those favorable to Radhika. And fourth is Tatastha, those who are neutral, 50-50 to Radharani and Chandravali. All of them began searching, because now, even though Radharani and Chandravali are transcendentally, they have a cross, they have difference of opinion, but now both of them came together. Why? Because the agenda was same, to find Krishna. Now the agenda was same, to find Krishna. So all of them came together, and now they saw the lotus feet of Krishna. They were following. At one point, there was another set of footprints that they saw. And another set of footprints, Chandravali's camp of gopis could not recognize. They were thinking, which is this type of footprint? We have never seen this before. But dear devotees, we know that footprint, because that footprint has 11 on its left, 11 marks on its left side, and 8 marks on its right side. That is the lotus feet of Srimati Radharani ki jai. Shri Brajendra Nandan Shri Krishna ki jai. Varsane wali Shri Radha ki jai. Srimati Radharani's lotus feet. This is why we had the homework. This is why we discussed the lotus feet of the Lord and the lotus feet of Radharani. If we cannot identify Radharani's lotus feet, it means we are in Chandravali's camp, because Chandravali's camp of gopis could not recognize. So on high priority, we have to recognize Radharani's lotus feet. Chandravali's camp of gopis were clueless. They were thinking, "Kabhi dekha nahi hai. Kin ke pad chinh hai? Whose lotus feet is this?" Radharani's camp of gopis saw. They said, "Oh, this is our Swamini's lotus feet. This is our Radhika's lotus feet. This is Yuteshwari's lotus feet. This is Radharani's lotus feet." And they understood. They were very happy inside, because they understood Krishna's lotus feet, Radharani's lotus feet. Radharani is there with Krishna. They were very happy. Chandravali's camp of gopis were clueless. Radhika's camp of gopis were very, very happy. You see how the mood is switching. Both are there in the same environment, but now there is a difference of mood. They again begin to search. And now when Krishna understands that these gopis are again approaching closer and closer and closer, Krishna tells Radharani, "We have to go from here, because the gopis are approaching." And Radharani says, "Krishna, I am very tired. I cannot walk. I have danced for such a long time. Krishna, I cannot walk." Krishna says, "What do you want me to do?" Radharani says, "Piggyback ride. I want a piggyback ride. Please take me on your back. I cannot walk." Krishna says, "Okay." And Krishna carries Srimati Radharani and begins to walk. Before this, dear devotees, we very beautifully find who is this gopi, because only the footprints were given. Shukadev Goswami, very beautifully, he describes who that gopi was. Shukadev Goswami says, "Anaya radhito nunam bhagavan haririshwara yanno vihaya govinda prito yad anayatraha." Anaya radhito nunam. Radhito. Who is Radhito? Radharani. So externally, Shukadev Goswami did not say Radharani's name, but indirectly he definitely mentions Radharani's name. Anaya radhito nunam. Who is that gopi whose footprints was there? Anaya radhito nunam. It was Srimati Radharani. Anaya radhito nunam bhagavan haririshwara yanno vihaya govindo prito yad anayadraha. These verses of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam are life and soul. We have to make every endeavor to sit and study these verses, so that wherever we are, whether we are taking a bath, whether we are walking, whether we are doing anything, we can chant these verses. And naturally, when we chant these verses, we will remember the pastime also. Our condition right now is such, when we chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we don't remember any pastime. It's not that the Mahamantra does not have pastimes. It has pastimes, but we are not qualified as of now. But when we chant verses, naturally the mind takes us to these Brajalila pastimes. So that is why it is very important. Prabhupada would always stress on by-hearting verses, taking out at least 5 minutes every single day. His Grace Gauranga Darshan Prabhu is so kind. He has very beautifully given so many booklets, whether Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, no excuse. Absolutely no excuse. If you want verses of Krishna Tattva, ready. Verses on Radha Tattva, ready. Verses on Gaur Tattva, ready. Verses on Bhakti Tattva, ready. Verses on Nam Tattva, ready. Absolutely no excuse. It has been made so easy and so simple for us. The only thing is we have to pick up that book and spend time. Rather than keeping it as it is, we have to pick up that book and spend some time. These verses are our life and soul. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami would chant these verses in 6 melodies and would cry every single day. So that Gopi is Anaya Radhito Nunam, Srimati Radharani. And now Radharani was tired. So naturally, when the other Gopis came, initially they saw one set of footprint. Then that one became 2 set of footprints. And now that 2 again became 1 set of footprints. Why? Because Radharani was having a piggyback ride. Krishna was carrying. So there was no Radhika's footprint. And because Krishna was carrying Srimati Radharani, the footprint was 1 inch deeper into the sand because he was carrying, right? So when you're carrying, naturally, we can imagine the footprint went 1 inch deeper. You see, so much clarity is there when our acharyas are giving. Small details they're giving, so that there is no ambiguity in the mind that whether this pastime happened, whether this is fictitious, no ambiguity absolutely. Krishna carried Srimati Radharani and he took Srimati Radharani to another place. Now the Gopis came, they saw again only 1 set of footprints. They were again walking because it was Krishna's footprints. They were again walking. And Krishna understood that these Gopis are still coming in search of me. Krishna told Srimati Radharani, let's go from here also. These Gopis are constantly coming. Let's go from here also. But Srimati Radharani, her love is so much, very difficult to understand. Krishna was present in front of Srimati Radharani and Radhika was still crying. She was shedding tears like Ganga and Yamuna were just streaming down her cheeks. And she was crying in separation from Krishna. Dear devotees, Krishna is standing in front of her. In presence of Krishna, Radhika is feeling separation. We can't even understand this. We have been away from Krishna for so many lifetimes, but still we don't feel separation. That is our predicament. And here is Srimati Radharani. In presence of Krishna, she is feeling separation. Rupa Goswami says this is something called as prema vaichitya. Feeling separation in presence of Krishna. Only Radharani experiences this. And Krishna said, oh Radhike, please come, let us go from here. Otherwise all the other gopis would come. But Radharani was crying and crying and crying. At that time, Krishna thought to himself, it's best to leave this place without taking Srimati Radharani. Why? Because Krishna thought to himself, if all the other gopis come and they see me with Radharani, they will blame Radharani that it is Radharani who took me out of the rasa dance. It is Radharani because of whom the rasa dance stopped. They will blame Srimati Radharani. But rather, if I leave this place without taking Srimati Radharani, rather than blaming Srimati Radharani, they will sympathize with Radharani that, oh Radhike, just like Krishna left us, Krishna also left you. We are all in the same boat. So Krishna, like a master plan, did not take Srimati Radharani so that Srimati Radharani is not blamed. But Krishna leaves Radharani and goes from that place. So when all the other gopis come, they find Radharani is all alone. And Radharani is on the ground crying. Srimati Radharani at that time, Shukadev Goswami very beautifully describes, Radharani is crying, Hanata Ramana Preshta Kwasi Mahabhuja Dasyaste Kripanayame Sakhe Darshaya Sannidhe. Hanath, oh my master, Ramana Preshta, oh my beloved, oh my lover, Kwasi, Kaha Asi, where are you? Mahabhuja, O mighty armed one. Dasyaste, O I am your servant. Kripanayame. Sakhe darshay sannidhim. O Sakhe, O friend, please give your darshan to me. You see, waves of emotions are rising in Radharani's heart. First, she is calling Krishna as a master. Hey Nath. Then she is calling Krishna as a lover. Then she is calling Krishna as a mighty armed one. Then she is calling Krishna as a Sakha. And then she is saying, oh Krishna, I am your servant. Different moods like waves are just splashing Srimati Radharani, and Radharani is exploding in emotions. Sometimes she's calling Krishna as a friend, sometimes as a lover, sometimes as a mighty armed one. Sometimes she calls herself as a servant. Different wave-like emotions are just splashing her completely. And all the other gopis come and they see Radharani in this state, crying and rolling on the ground. Hey Krishna, hey Krishna, hey Krishna. He Deva, he Daita, he Bhuvaneka Bandho. He Krishna, he Chapala, he Karuna Eka Sindhu. He Nata, he Ramana, he Nayana Virama. Ha ha kadanu bhavitasi padam drishorme. He Deva, oh my Lord. He Deva, he Daita. Oh most merciful. Bhuvanaika Bandhu, oh friend of everyone. He Deva, he Daita, he Bhuvanaika Bandhu, he Krishna, oh Krishna, where are you? Hey Krishna, hey Karuna. Oh Krishna, you are like the ocean of being merciful. Krishna, where are you? Ha Nath, Ramana Preshta, oh my master, where are you? Different emotions are just rising in Radharani's heart. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would chant this verse, dear devotees. Ha Nath Ramana Preshta, Kwasi Kwasi Mahamuja. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Madhavendra Puri would chant and they would cry like anything. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gambhira would chant this verse in the mood of Radharani. We say Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in the mood of Radharani. So Radharani, when she chanted this verse in Dwapar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, taking the sentiments of Radharani, started experiencing the same mood. And in Gambhira and Jagannath Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exploded like a volcano. There was a golden volcano that exploded. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would chant these verses. Madhavendra Puri would chant. They would cry and weep. Hey Krishna, 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 where are you, Krishna? There is a reason why this section is the highest tier devotees. There are no one like the Braja Gopis who cried so much for Krishna. If we can cry even one drop of tear for Shri Krishna, that is complete success. Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj would time and again, he would say, without crying, no one has ever got Krishna. The gopis have cried kunds and sarovars and so many other big water bodies. We are not expected to do that. But if we can shed even one single tear, that buys Krishna's attention. And here was Radharani crying and crying and crying. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu crying in Gambhira. Madhavendra Puri crying. All our acharyas cried. Prabhupada could cry, Gaur Govinda Maharaj would say. And Prabhupada came to Bhuvaneshwar and lived with Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj for 10 days. Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj would say, I have seen Prabhupada shed tears. Srila Saraswati Thakur cried. Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj would wander from one forest to another forest, crying out to Srimati Radharani. Bhaktivinoda Thakur cried. Till the time we don't cry, we don't get Krishna. Rukmini cried, she got Krishna. Bilva Mangala Thakur cried, he got Krishna. Dhruva cried, he got Krishna. Prahlad cried, he got Krishna. Gopis cried, they will get Krishna now. Those who cried have always got Krishna. Now all the gopis pick up Srimati Radharani and they say, hey Radhe, Krishna has abandoned you also. Let us all go back to Vamsivat. Let us all go back to the banks of Jamuna. And let us all cry and chant his glory so that in a group effort, may he be pleased and may he come and give his audience. May he give us his darshan. All the gopis picked up Srimati Radharani and led by Radharani, they all came back to the banks of Yamuna at Vamsivat. When they came back to the banks of Yamuna, Vamsivat, all the gopis, 60 million gopis in one voice with the same emotions of finding Krishna, they all started chanting the Gopi Gita. Dear devotees, let us all, in that same mood of the Braja Gopis, let us all try to chant the Gopi Gita with this desire that, hey Krishna, after the 19 verses, please give us darshan. You gave darshan to the Braja Gopis. When will you give me darshan? I am chanting your glories for such a long time, but what wrong I have done that you are not even giving me darshan? You are not even giving me any realization in my heart. Let us chant with that mood, dear devotees. Let us chant with the mood of helping Srimati Radharani. We are on Radharani's side. Radharani right now is in distress. Her Krishna is not to be seen. And we, being the followers of Radharani, let us pour our heart out for the next 15 minutes and let us chant the Gopi Gita with this only prayer. Hey Krishna, please come. Please give darshan to Radharani, because if you come out of hiding and if you give darshan to Radharani, Radharani will be very happy. If Radharani is happy, we will be very happy. All that we want is Radharani's happiness. Dear devotees, let us all, with full absorption, chant the Gopi Gita. Let us think right now we are on the banks of Yamuna. The sun has set. There is the full moon that is shining. Our Shyam Sundar Shri Krishna has left the rasa dance, and we are right now chanting the Gopi Gita with Srimati Radharani, so that Krishna becomes pleased and comes in front of all of us. Let us chant the Gopi Gita, dear devotees. I'll share the screen. We all can chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is Canto 10, Chapter 31, Text 1. Of course, we are all familiar with the Gopi Gita, but now that we have heard about the history of this, let us with all our heart, let us give everything into these 19 verses. Let us chant with this mood that this is the last prayer I am praying. After this, Krishna is not going to give me any other chance to pray. This is the last 19 verses of my life. Let us pray with that intensity that, hey Krishna, this is the last 19 verses of my life. If you are pleased, please give darshan to Radharani, and also please give darshan to me. Let us chant, dear devotees. Gopya uchuho jayati te dhikam janmana vraja shrayata indira shashvadatrahi daitadresyatam dikshutavakas tvaidrita savas tvam vechinvate sharadudasaye sadhujatasad sarasijodhara Śrīmuṣādrisha Surathanathate Śukadāsika Varadanegnato Nehakim Vada Veshajalapyayad Vyalarākṣasād Varashamaruthat Vaidyutanalad Vrishamayatmajat Vishvato bhayat rishabhate vayam rakshita muhum na khalu gopika nandano bhavan akhila dehinam antaratmadrek vikhana sarthito vishwaguptaye Sakhā Dāsa Sattvatam Kule Virachita Bhayam Vrishnidhuryate Charanameyusham Samsriter Bhayat Karasaroruham Kantakamadam Shirasidehinam Shrikaragraham Vrajajanartihan Virayoshitam Nijajanasmaya Dvamsanasmita Bhaja Sakhe Bhavat Kim karismano jalaruhananam charudeshaya pranatadehinam papakarshanam trinacharanugam Śrīniketanam Phanarpitam Te padambhujam Krunu kucheshu naha Krindirichayam Madhuraya gira Valguvakyaya Bodhamanogyaya Pushkarekshana Vidhi karirima Viramuhiyate Adharasye dhuna Pyayayasvanaha Tava kathamritam Tapta jivanam Kavibhiriritam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Bhuvi grananti ye Bhurida janaha Prahasitam priya Prema vikshanam Viharanam chate Dhyanamangalam Rahasisam vidho Yaridhi sprishaha कुहकनो मनः क्षोभयन्ति हि चलसि यद्व्रजा चारयन् पशु नलिनसुन्दरम् नाथ ते पदम् शिलातृणाङ्कुरैः सीदतीति नः कलिलतामनः कान्तगच्छति दिनपरीक्षये नीलकुण्ठलैर्वनरुहाननम् बिभ्रदाव्रतम् घनरजस्वलम् दर्शयन्मुहुर्मनसि न स्मरम् वीरयच्छसि प्रणतकामदम् पद्मजार्चितम् धराणिमण्डलम् देयमापदि चरणपङ्कजम् शन्तमं च ते रमाणनास्तनेष्वर्पयादिहन् सुरथवर्धनम् शोकनाशनम् स्वरितवेणुना शुष्टुचुम्भितम् इतररागवे स्मारणं नृणां वितरवीरनास्ते धरामृतम् अटति यद्भवान् अन्निकाननम् त्रुटियुगायते त्वामपश्यताम् कुटिलकुण्ठलम् श्रीमुखं च ते जडौदीक्षताम् पक्ष्मकृदृशाम् पतिसुतान्वया भ्रातृबान्धवा अतिविलङ्घ्यते त्याच्युता गताः गतिविदस्तव गीतमोहिता कितवयोषितः कस्तजेनिषि रहसि संविदम् ऋच्छयोदयम् प्रहसिताननम् प्रेमवेक्षणम् बृहदुराश्रियो वीक्षधामते मुहुरति स्पृहा मूयते मनः Vrajavanaukasam vyaktirangate vrijena hantralam vishwamangalam tyajamanakshanas tvasprihamanam svajanare drujam yaneshodhayan svajanare drujam yaneshodhayan yatte sujata charanam buruham staneshu bhitashanai priyadadi mahi karkasheshu tenatavim atasitad vyathatena kim svet kurpadibir Brahmati dhir bhavatayusham naha kurpadhibir Brahmati dhir bhavatayusham naha kurpadhibir Brahmati dhir bhavatayusham naha. Shri Gopi Gita ki jai, Srimati Radharani ki jai. When the Gopis chanted this way, dear devotees, Krishna could resist him. Krishna could resist himself for all the 18 verses. The last verse when Srimati Radharani chanted, Krishna could not resist himself. When he saw that Srimati Radharani is chanting, Krishna, without wasting a single moment, Krishna came out. And Krishna sat down in front of the Braja Gopis. With tears in Krishna's eyes, Krishna looked at all the Braja Gopis. And Krishna said something that till this date remains immortal in the pages of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Krishna, with tears in his eyes, he looked at the Braja Gopis. And Krishna said, Na parayeham niravadya samyojam Swasadu kritya vibhudayushapiva Yama bhajandur jarageha shrinkhalam Samvreshayatad prathiyati sadhunam. Krishna looked at the Braja Gopis with tears in his eyes and said, Oh Braja Gopis, in the Bhagavad Gita I promised, Ye yathamam prapadhyante. With full conviction I promised that the way you reciprocate, I will also reciprocate. I will also give back. Krishna said, I'm sorry. Pratigya bhanga hoila gopira bhajane. By the bhajan of gopis, Krishna's pratigya became bhanga. All the promise that Krishna gave in the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Lord lost. Pratigya bhanga hoila gopira bhajane. Krishna said, I cannot repay what you have done. And in fact, Krishna says, Na parayeham niravadya samyujam swasadu kritya vibudhayusha apiva. Hey Braja Gopis, with tears streaming down Krishna's eyes, he said, Hey Braja Gopis, O Srimati Radharani, I cannot repay an iota of what you have done for me, even in the lifetime of Brahma. What is the lifetime of Brahma? 311 trillion 40 billion years. Krishna says, Oh Braja Gopis, even if you give me that much time, I can still not repay even 1/10 of what you have done for me. I give up. Krishna gives up in front of the Braja Gopis. I promise I will reciprocate. Braja Gopis, I did not expect that you all will come up with such level of Braj Prem. Pratikya bhanga hoila gopira bhajane. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes Krishna's pratikya became bhanga. He lost to the Braja Gopis. Here devotees, to wrap up. If suppose, just for example, if suppose I have taken $10,000 from Radha Vinod Prabhu, not that I have taken, but just as an example, if I have taken $10,000 from Radha Vinod Prabhu and I tell Radha Vinod Prabhu, Prabhuji, I will return it. And Prabhuji with full trust, he gives me. After 1 month, Prabhuji comes back to me. and I look at Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, out of his kindness, does not ask me, but I look at Prabhuji and says, Prabhuji, I will give. Give me little more time, I will give. Prabhuji says, don't worry, Prabhuji, you can give whenever you want. After 2 months, I again see Prabhuji. I again feel in my heart, Prabhuji gave me $10,000. I am not able to repay. After 6 months, Prabhuji is kind, Prabhuji is not asking me. But again in my heart, every time I see Radhavinath Prabhu, I will have the feeling in my heart, I took $10,000 from him and I am not able to repay. My head will bow down in shame. Is it not, dear devotees? Every time I see him, head will bow down in shame. I took with so much trust, but now I am not able to repay. This is what happened with Krishna. With full conviction, Krishna said, I will repay to whatever you have done. The gopis reciprocated with their love, and Krishna could not reciprocate. Krishna's head hung down in shame. Oh gopis, I cannot reciprocate to your love that you have given me. So now what will I do? If I have taken money from Radhavinath Prabhu and 6 months down the line, I am not able to repay, there is 2 things I will do. First, I will make sure that I leave Seattle, because every time I see Radhavinath Prabhu, there will be guilt in my heart. Paisa liya, lekin diya nahi, udhari chukaya nahi. Every time I see him, there will be that guilt in my heart. What will I do? I will leave Seattle and go to a place where I don't have to see Radhavinath Prabhu. Not that I don't want to see Prabhuji's face is very nice, but as far as the example is concerned, if I've taken money and I'm not able to repay, I will have the guilt. Paisa liya, lekin I couldn't repay back. I couldn't give back. What will I do? I will leave Seattle. And second, I will go to Radhavinath Prabhu and say, Prabhuji, if you excuse me of this $10,000, I will go around every place that I go. I will go around and tell the world how magnanimous Radhavinath Prabhu is. He gave me $10,000, but still he did not ask that money from me. This is what Krishna did. Krishna promised the Braja Gopis, I cannot repay you. And because Krishna couldn't repay, just like I will run out from Seattle, not able to face Radhavinath Prabhu. Similarly, after Ras Pancha, day after the Gopi Geet, Krishna decided to run away from Vrindavan. Krishna decided to wrap up his Vrindavan pastimes, because Krishna thought to himself, if I stay in Vrindavan more, I will keep seeing the Braja Gopis, and every time I will see the Braja Gopis, what will I reply? I am not able to reciprocate to their love. I took so much from them. I am not able to reciprocate anything. Krishna decided it's time to wrap up my Vrindavan pastimes and go somewhere where Braja Gopis are not there. Just like I will go to a place where Radhavinath Prabhu is not there. And second, what will I do? I will sing the glories of Radhavinath Prabhu everywhere as to how glorious he is. He gave money, still did not ask. This is what Krishna did. Krishna took all the love, could not reciprocate, decides to leave Vrindavan, and also gives the second promise that, oh Radharani, if you forgive me, I will go around the whole of cosmic manifestation and sing your glories as to how glorious you are, that you gave all the love to me, but still you did not ask anything in return. To fulfill the second desire, Krishna comes down as Sachinandan Gauranga Mahaprabhu. For 48 years, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is crying in the mood of Radharani, chanting Radhe, 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 singing the glories of Radharani. Why? Because Radharani forgave him. Radharani gave so much love, Krishna couldn't reciprocate. So as Prayaschitta, Krishna is coming and singing the glories of Radharani. And second, Krishna is leaving Vrindavan. Krishna is not able to see the face of the gopis. Why? Because he is not able to reciprocate. Dear devotees, Krishna now decides to wrap up his Vrindavan pastimes. Please definitely come back next week, because we want to hold back Krishna. We don't want Krishna to leave Vrindavan. Please come back with redoubled enthusiasm, because we want to make sure Krishna doesn't leave Vrindavan. We are on the side of Radharani. Krishna is now preparing to leave Braj. Let us make sure we come with all the enthusiasm, all the energy that we have, and let us hold Krishna, because next week Akrura is going to come and take Krishna and Balaram away, and we cannot see that. Please come back with redoubled enthusiasm to hold our Krishna and Balaram back in the land of Braja. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Shri Gopi Gita Ras Panchadhyay ki jai. Shri Śrīmad Shila Radharani ki jai. Shri Brajendrandan Shri Krishna ki jai. Braja Bhumi Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sachinandan Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai. Avadhuta Shiromani Nityananda Ram ki jai. Savior of the whole world, Patita Pavan Jagat Guru Shila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Shila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Shila Prabhupada, who gifted Braja Prem to the whole world ki jai. Shila Gurudeva ki jai. Samasta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you so much, dear devotees. Hare Krishna. I'm extremely sorry for